So, the tale unfolds at a hospital setting where an attractive nurse, Gwen, is attending to her patient. The patient, being elderly, abruptly begins to experience respiratory difficulties. Rather than administering oxygen, Gwen shuts off her oxygen supply and begins compressing her airway, causing the elderly lady to suffocate and her heart to cease. Subsequently, Gwen feigns a scream to draw the doctor's attention to the patient. After a while, the doctor arrives and starts performing CPR on the patient. On the other hand, Gwen stands by the door with a smile, indicating that she is a psycho nurse who enjoys causing pain to her patients. Somehow, the doctor manages to save the life of the elderly patient. Gwen then walks away from the patient, looking as if she had no remorse for what she did to the old woman. The scene then shifts, and we are shown a family. The family consists of Todd, Mira, and their son Max. Here, Mira was making breakfast for her husband Todd when their son Max arrives and tells them that his legs are hurting. Actually, Max suffers from a disease called muscular dystrophy, due to which he can't walk and thus uses crutches for mobility. Mira gets anxious seeing Max in pain because he used to climb and descend the stairs on his own, which often caused him leg pain. Seeing Mira worried, Todd tries to calm her down and explains, "There's no need for you to worry so much." Just then, we see Gwen, the psycho nurse who was hired to take care of Max. Gwen used to take care of Max like a family member. Following that, the four of them have breakfast together. During this, Max accidentally drops his crutches, which Gwen helps him pick up but deliberately loosens the lower end of the crutches so that Max would fall later because of the faulty crutches. When? She used to do this for her enjoyment, just as we saw at the start of the story. Well, soon after, Todd gets ready to go to work. During this, Mira begins to clean Todd's suit, at which point there's a noticeable closeness between Todd and Mira, as the queen had started to fancy Todd. This made her jealous of Mira. Well, after Todd leaves, Mira's friend Karen comes over. While playing with Max, she starts listening to their conversation. Here, she tells Mira that "I think Max and Todd are getting too fond of Gwen, so you should replace Gwen with another nurse." To which Mira denies and says that "I believe Gwen has taken good care of Max till now, thus she is perfect for Max." Suddenly, they hear Max scream, who had fallen due to his crutches breaking. Mira blames the queen for Max's fall, feeling it was Gwen's negligence that led to his fall. On this, Max tells his mother that it wasn't Gwen's fault but that it all happened due to the breaks. So Mira calls Dr. Keller to request new crutches for Max. That same night, Mira apologizes to Gwen because she had gotten angry at Gwen, even though it wasn't her fault. Upon Mira's apology, Gwen says there's no need for you to apologize because I understand that a mother is very stressed for her son. That we know who had loosened Max's crutches, which led to his fall. Well, after this, the queen makes therapeutic tea for Mira to help her relax. The next day, Mira joins the community for people with muscular dystrophy, which consisted of relatives and friends of people going through the illness, just like Max. Here Mira starts crying while sharing Max's story. She also feels bad that Max cannot play like normal children. After Mira returns home, the queen suddenly comes over and offers her the same tea, which surprises Mira. But she didn't pay much attention to that. On the same day, when Mira was sleeping on the couch, Dr. Keller comes home to give Max crutches, intending to meet him. However, Gwen stops Dr. Keller, telling her that Max is sleeping and can't meet her now, prompting Keller to leave, but not before giving Gwen a long look and saying she might recognize her, but can't remember where she had seen her. She promises to let her know as soon as she remembers. After saying that, she leaves. That evening, Gwen goes to Dr. Keller's house and tells her that she still remembers her. After entering the house, Queen injects something into Dr. Keller and reveals that they used to work in the same hospital. Indeed, in the story's beginning, it was Gwen who had tried to kill a patient whom Dr. Keller had saved. Anyway, Queen confesses to Dr. Keller that she was the one who had tried to kill the patient. Gwen's words reveal that she has problems with her family, which is why she targets families and kills them. This time, she planned to kill a particular family but feared Dr. Keller might expose her truth. Hence, she kills Dr. Keller with a drug-induced injection. That night, a man named David calls Mira informing her he's a member of the same community she recently joined. He also tells Mira that his son suffers from muscular dystrophy. Hearing this, Mira becomes emotional and wants to see David. However, David had a blurred photo on his profile, preventing her from seeing his face clearly. David explains that his wife has died, so he has hired a nurse to care for his daughter. Mira responds that it was wise of him to have a nurse in his home. Then we see that David is none other than Queen, who is using a computer to alter his voice. Following this, the next morning Karen visits Mira's house, where she accidentally spills a drink on Todd's shirt. Gwen carries Todd's garment to the laundry area for cleaning. In the same space, Mira requests Karen to fetch her purse from the adjacent room, prompting Karen to move in that direction. During this time, she notices Queen sniffing at Todd's shirt. Witnessing this, Karen realizes Queen's affection for him, yet she keeps silent towards Mira, fearing the potential disruption it could cause in Mira's household. Subsequently that evening, Gwen engages in another conversation with Mira while pretending to be David, inquiring about Max's health situation. Mira confides that she wasn't in the best of health on the day Max took a tumble. After hearing this, she quickly asks her caregiver to make an assessment. Following the call, she rushes to Mira's chamber to find her in conversation with David. Queen's scheme unfolds successfully, allowing her to start casting allegations at Mira for disloyalty towards Todd. She proceeds to inform Todd about Mira's recent telephone exchange with another gentleman. In fact, Gwen's plan was for Todd to doubt Mira and separate from her, but Todd doesn't doubt his wife. Instead, he defends her, telling Gwen that Mira has been working a lot lately. That's why she doesn't get enough sleep at night. Suddenly, Gwen hugs Todd and wishes him a good night. In reality, Gwen wanted Todd by any means, so she tries to get close to him. The next morning, we see Gwen and Todd in the kitchen. While Mira was deep in slumber, Gwen appeared to be constantly searching for moments to engage with Todd. In this instance, Gwen attempts to captivate him through subtle touches, only to be discovered by Mira, who notices Gwen has completed all domestic chores. He becomes concerned as his memory often pictures her resting on the couch. Concurrently, Mira receives a phone call from Karen, expressing gratitude for the bouquet sent to celebrate her anniversary. Hearing this, Mira gets confused because she hadn't sent flowers to Karen. Karen becomes concerned for Mira and proposes that she consult a physician. Subsequently, Mira comes to the realization that the flowers originated from Karen. Gwen explains to her that she remedied forgetting Karen's birthday by sending him blooms. While they converse, Mira unexpectedly collapses and Gwen swiftly supports her, escorting her indoors. Mira expresses her desire to see a physician and also urges Gwen to keep this incident confidential. Gwen assures her that a trip to the hospital is not necessary because "I will take your blood sample and send it to the lab for testing." That night, Mira talks to David about the problems at home. During this, Todd and Max arrive home. Seeing them, Mira quickly cuts off David's call. Mira wanted to take Max to his room, but starts seeing everything blurry, promising Max she'll follow him soon. Yet Mira is so sleepy that she falls asleep on the couch, during which she receives a message from a man named Weber. The message disclosed that David was a swindler. The following morning, Todd attempts to rouse Mira and notices Weber's text on her mobile. He is bewildered by the identities of David and Weber and the reason behind Mira's communications with them. Likewise, Max cannot comprehend why his mother has been resting more than usual lately. Gwen, previously toiling tirelessly at their residence, continues to be misunderstood by Mira, prompting her to extend an apologetic gesture first. Overjoyed, Gwen feels that she is finally being acknowledged as part of the family. In the meanwhile, Mira receives another message about David, which Gwen also sees, but Mira replies to the message asking not to be bothered anymore. Afterwards, Mira somehow gets ready to go to work and meets Karen at the office. She tells Karen her blood report is fine and agrees with Gwen that she just needed rest, to which Karen suggests consulting a doctor who has no connection with Gwen. But Mira ignores Karen's words and Gwen, posing as David, sends an email to Mira. The email said that Weber was trying to defame her. Meanwhile, Mira also receives an email from Weber saying that his child is in danger and he wants to meet her. Afterwards, Mira goes home and while telling Gwen about Weber, she mentions she's going to meet him at a cafe, during which Todd arrives and overhears Mira's conversation, which makes Todd very upset because he now feels Mira is deceiving him. We see Mira going to a cafe where she meets Weber. Mira discovers that Weber is actually David. David tells Mira that he has no children and that he never spoke to her, but someone was using his name to communicate with her. After that, David reveals that his wife Laurel had cancer, which is why she was undergoing chemotherapy. One day, Laurel received an email from a man who befriended her and advised her to stop chemotherapy and not to see the doctor, which led to Laurel's death. David also shows a photo of the man who sent the emails. Mira sees that the photo is of the same man who had been talking to her as David, but still, Mira did not suspect Gwen. Meanwhile, we see Todd outside the cafe following Mira. Here, Todd sees Mira hugging David, making him sure that Mira is really betraying him. On the other hand, we see Karen who comes to Mira's house to give her a bag. Moreover, she approached to have a conversation with her. Karen mentioned to her that she noticed you smelling the shirt and she's aware of your fondness for Todd. Karen additionally intimidates her by mentioning that any wrongdoing against Mira's family will make her the worst enemy. Having uttered these words, Karen exits the abode. Subsequently, Gwen ambushes her from the rear, incapacitates her, and transports her to a secluded location, and injects drugs into her body to kill her, after which she leaves her there and goes away. Here we see Mira getting ready for dinner as Gwen, after bringing Max back from his physical therapy session, enters, quietly takes Mira's knife, and then departs for David's house under the guise of catching up with old acquaintances. Here we discover that Gwen had once been David's wife's caretaker and had suggested she discontinue the medical treatments while disguising herself as a male. Gwen proceeds to assault David with the knife, slays him, and departs, leaving Mira's blood beside David's body to create the impression that Mira was the perpetrator. Subsequently, Gwen absconds with David's belongings from the crime scene. That evening, Todd returns inebriated, disturbed about Mira's behavior. Exploiting his inebriated state, Gwen approaches him and initiates seduction in a secluded space. However, Todd, who is devoted to his wife, requests Gwen to exit. Come morning, Mira finds a note from David when she arises, saying he couldn't sleep all night because of their little boy. The message, not sent by Gwen, was meant to implicate Mira. Mira then notices "little boy" written on a bottle, which reminds her that both David and Gwen used that word. Suspecting Gwen, she pours out the water from the bottle and spots a powder inside, realizing someone has been drugging her water, causing her excessive sleepiness. Later, Mira finds a book on poisonous drugs and several medicines under the bed in Gwen's room. As Gwen returns home, Mira quickly leaves her room. Gwen, noticing Mira awake, understands that she has not drunk the water from that bottle. Yet the queen unexpectedly arrives with a beverage for him and suggests he take a moment to rest. Subsequently, Gwen instructs Max to escort him to the healthcare facility for some rehab. Mira proposes perhaps missing the day's therapy. However, Max resists as the therapy session coincides with where his football game is slated, thus Mira is unable to convince him. Once Gwen and Max are gone, Mira returns to Gwen's chamber and makes a recording. She narrates her remarkable achievements. Additionally, she rings Todd to update him on the situation and proceeds towards the precinct to file a complaint against Gwen. Suddenly, Gwen arrives back, having surmised that Mira might have caught on to her. At this point, Mira notices Max isn't with Gwen and requests her presence to join her in visiting Max. En route to where Max is, Gwen confesses that although she has cared for many clients, none have made her feel quite like part of the family. But your family kept me as a member, and so I will kill you and take your place to create my own new family. Actually, Gwen liked Todd and therefore wanted to replace Mira by killing her. On the other hand, we see Todd who comes home and starts looking for Mira, during which he finds Mira's phone. Then Todd watches the video recorded by Mira on her phone and he learns all the truth about Gwen. Meanwhile, Gwen tells Mira that she has killed Dr. Keller, Karen, and David. Hearing this, Mira starts to worry about Max. After a while, Gwen takes Mira to her home, where Mira starts searching for Max. Then Gwen reveals that Max is still in the clinic and that she brought her here to kill her. Additionally, Gwen reveals that she used that knife with your fingerprints on it to kill David and dropped your blood sample on David's body. This will make you a criminal in the eyes of the police, causing Todd and Max to hate you as well. Hearing this, Mira tries to escape, but Gwen catches her. And then a fight breaks out between the two. Mira somehow dodges and hits Gwen on the head with a pot, knocking Gwen unconscious. Afterwards, Mira quickly escapes to her home. At the end of the story, we see Todd, Mira, and Max together again, resuming their happy lives. Meanwhile, Gwen ends up in jail for the murder, and with that, the movie comes to an end.